Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning to the great United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. And as Howard would tell you, we are also in Louisiana, East Texas, way East Texas, when he gets up to the antenna and blow the signals over there. Anyway, that's 100,000 watt transmitter, and we're doing pretty well with that 100,000 watt transmitter. Good morning, studio. How are you guys doing this morning?
Well, good morning, Egberto. Yes, the fans are blowing to Louisiana and deep East Texas, and we are being covered all the way around the world at kpot.org. And I want to take
a station that could, the little station that could.
It's the little station that did, man, and it's still doing it.
Yes.
Little station that does. And I want to thank Jack Van Bever here this morning so much for Friday's request show. I could not have done it without him.
Yeah, we had 22 requests and we played 14 of them.
Yeah, we're going to get to the rest of them later on, probably this coming week, because we are going to be live and we are going to be doing it again and having a good time. But Jack, I could not do that show without you, man. I could not do it.
Well, I couldn't do it without you.
Well, I'll show you the buttons to push and anybody could do this stuff. I think you've got some wisdom for us this morning.
Yeah, Friday,
a page full of wisdom. Friday,
Amanda gave a little report on abortion, and a caller called in, and it was totally on the right side and damning of women, and it really irked me. So here we go. On the abortion issue, there is some pretty twisted religious ideology. Why does religion make an unfair judgment about sexually active women? Then after it judges the women, it seeks to punish them. This is not natural to punish women for being a sexual creature. It's like being punished or ridiculed for being a human. The argument is always seems to come down to the issue of promiscuity. We judge women for their wanton, promiscuous nature. BS. As if it was wrong. It's not. There is no sin in promiscuity. Now, men, the pot can't call the kettle black. Examine your own horn dog nature when you were 15, 20, 25, and 30. But men get pats on the back for their promiscuity. See what I'm saying? Don't throw the woman under the bus when you should be standing in support right alongside her.
Mm-hmm.
Don't judge. Support women's reproductive rights.
Well, we should. Yes. And, my own horn dog behavior got me in trouble a couple of times. But, I don't think I was ever praised. I think I was damn near shot.
Yeah, but you didn't have to pay the cost.
In a different way, yeah, I did.
Well, that's good.
I totally agree with you. Fact of the matter is, people, we don't need the government in our bodies. Get them out.
We don't need religion telling us what's right and wrong. Because sometimes they're not a good compass anymore.
Well, no, I was reading about Christian right wing or Christian something or another, and these people are sick. The fact of the matter is, if Jesus Christ knew of half the things that have been done in his name, he'd still be throwing up.
Yes, indeed.
We got to turn it back over to Egberto because we run out of stuff here.
Well, I was enjoying this. I mean, but you are so right. And Jack, as you so do so often, you've changed the beginning of the show because I want to touch on some of what you say. First of all, the autocratic nature of what's going on in this country, and it starts again. People look at the abortion issue as it's something, as it's just an ancillary thing. This is a real thing. I don't know if people can really, women do grasp what it's like. I mean, that story with Kate Cox, I mean, processing that story, for me, the most difficult part about it is the loss of authority on self. I mean, that this woman has an issue with her body. And a government run by people who claim they want small government, by people who claim they want government out of your lives, for people who claim they want the reduction of regulations. They don't want the government regulating companies. They don't want the government regulating your actions.
And they want to regulate women's bodies.
And they want to regulate women's bodies. And not only regulate women's bodies on some objective manner, but subjectively. And again, they are deciding for a woman. And people look at it and like, well, it's the life of the kid or whatever. No, the truth of the matter, it's the life of the mother. And it's not only the physical life of the mother. You think about this, taking a woman's choice away, her right to do as she pleases with her body, is not only a personal issue, it's an economic issue, it's an enslavement issue, and all of those put together. I mean, I simply cannot come to grasps with anybody, including women, irrespective of what you think, life, death, where it begins, all of that. To think that you can tell somebody what to do, knowing that this will have an effect on that person's life throughout their own existence. I mean, a woman deciding to have an abortion or not isn't just an issue for today in her life. It can determine the outcome, or not it can, it will determine the outcome of her life going forward. It's a burden that isn't due men. A woman didn't get pregnant by herself, yet she has the burden of all the consequences of said pregnancy. Who the hell are men, specifically men, to tell this other human being that they must carry, that they must do this on their own?
Egberto.
Yes, sir.
I have 2 points that I'd like to make on this one.
Yes, sir.
Today, it is abortion. Tomorrow, who knows what it's going to be, because it's always going to be something. If you let this one go, and I want to thank the Texas legislature, Governor Abbott, and the rest of them for making Texas a pariah of the United States. Thank you, sleazeballs. I've always thought that Texas was backward anyway. Now I know it is. And I'm an native Houstonian. I've lived here all my life, and I've always thought Texas is the most backward state ever. And now they're pushing us back into the dark ages. They've taken women's rights away from them. And how many women are going to put up with that? Get out there and vote, ladies. Vote these clowns out of here.
That's the story right there. This is all being done for the religious right vote. The politicians are using the religious right to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff
is that's as simple as it is.
So what do you think, Jack? One of these days they're going to be running buses up and down the street, dragging people out of their houses and making them go to church? I mean, is that next? Seriously?
I don't think that's going to come.
Because if you let this slide, and we can't let this slide. We got to draw the line in the sand and say, no. Otherwise, you don't lose all of your rights at once. They're nibbled away like rats nibbling on cheese. And then suddenly the cheese is gone, which will be our society gone. The rats are nibbling right now, and you got to stop them.
No, that's why we're down here. We see this stuff going on, and we want to call attention to it, call it out for what it is.
Absolutely. Now let's give Egberto back to his show.
Yeah, no, it's our show. It's
no,
no.
from him.
Look, no. Let me tell you, this discussion is so important that you notice I haven't even said what we're going to talk about, because I think what we have an urgency with this. You know what? Let's open the phone lines right now. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Hit extension 2 to come on air right away. All lines are available right now. I would love to hear from women, if at all. I want to hear from everybody, but women specifically, if you can give me a call and tell me what we need to do. 713-526-5738. Extension number 2. Yes, these 3 men are on their high horse, wanting to be in that symbiotic relationship with this cause. This is your cause. 713-526-5738. Hit extension 2 to be on air right away. I know it's early. I know you probably haven't had your coffee yet. I have mine though, so I'm already getting all hyped up. But look, I came to this country never expecting that we would be at the point where I see more democracy in the country that I came from, who was once several times led by dictators. And I'm here in the United States for the last several decades, and now fearful. Let me repeat. That just slipped off the tongue. Not fearful, concerned that the battle, that we have a very important battle to fight here about democracy. And the first salvo has been thrown against women. Why is it that women always have to pay the price for a lot of the issues that men do? So 713-526-5738. All lines are open for everybody, but I'd love to hear from women in that group of people calling. And please don't wait till the end of the show, my dear brothers. And sisters, don't wait till the end of the show. Usually I have to kind of get things through real fast. But again, like I said before, coming over to the country and being at the bastion of democracy at its peak, and to watch it go downhill. I don't know if you guys remember the 60s and the 70s were the progressive seeking of democracy, enlightenment of everybody, and things were moving fine. And then we got Reagan into power, and all these controls that we had to protect democracy, to protect the economy, to protect all these things fell by the wayside. But it's possible for us to recover from the direction that we're heading to right now. And my little country of birth proves that. As you know, in Central America, there are oftentimes things. The leadership just does what they want, and the population just accepts it and moves on. They complain and they accept it and move on. The government of Panama signed a treaty with a Canadian company, and that Canadian company had a copper mine that had copper, gold, magdalenium, and all these other things in the mine. And I mean, it was an employer of 7,000 people. 7,000 people in Panama is a lot of people. And it also was, I guess, 2 to 5% of the economy. It represented about 75% of the country's exports. But Panama is known for being a lush green land with the rainforest, beautiful water streams that you can drink out of. I mean, it's been a pristine country for centuries. Now, I should say pristine region for centuries, because it changed management quite often until 1903. And if you see what this mine did to my province, Colon, which is a province that I'm from, strip mine with the flow of all these chemicals going into the rivers, etc. Some going to take 200 years to recover. And the population rose up. They used social media, not in the framework that Trump did for negatively using it. They united the nation with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and being out there on the streets demanding their democracy, demanding that this company shuts down operation until the Supreme Court was forced to nullify that treaty. And we got the country back from the corporate being that was that mine. The people didn't sit back and say, well, we can't do anything about it. Women in America can't sit back and say, well, we can't do anything about it. We can't allow this election in 2024 to go to an autocrat who proudly tells all of you, are there any women that's going to vote for Donald Trump? This is a guy who told all of you the reason abortion is no longer is because I did it. I put those Supreme Court judges up there that killed it. I did it. That's what he's saying. I did it. The autocrat did it. And then he says it not once, not twice, but continually, that he's going to come into office to be a dictator in chief. He claims one day. But the one day you're a dictator, you remember that thing that you rub the genie bottle and you get 3 wishes? And your first wish is, I wish I have an unlimited number of wishes. That is like what? Think about it. Donald Trump, dictator for one day. If it works, dictator forever. And let me tell you something. It's not easy being a dictator in this country because of the checks and balances. But when the checks fail you, the checks and balances in this country being the legislative branch, meaning the Senate and the House, as well as the Supreme Court, are there to check the executive. The executive and the legislative section is there to check the judiciary. The judiciary and the executive are there to check the Congress, the legislative. That is how our country works in general. But if at any time any particular branch co-opts the other, we have an issue. The checks and balances no longer work because the checks are not working. And that is where we are at today. We are at an impasse right now in the way this country works. And I hope people understand what's about to happen in 2024. Let me tell you what should happen if you want to maintain a democracy. If you want, and by the way, our democracy has been tenuous for a very long time. It didn't start with Donald Trump. Our democracy was inherently undemocratic. I repeat, our democracy from its inception was inherently undemocratic. It was made for men to control in a certain manner. Over time, as I put in that documentary that we made called Legalized Democracy. If you go to my website at egbertowillies.com, do a scan for Legalized Democracy, and you'll find that documentary we made with Move to Amend. I was an executive producer in that particular one. It's called Legalized Democracy. And in that particular documentary, we showed how the branches of government came together to make a constitution that wasn't inherently democratic, more democratic. How is it not very democratic? We take a look at 50 states. A state with 1 million people has the same amount of senators as a state with 40 million people. Let's look at Montana versus California. All right. Montana has the same power in the Senate as California does. very undemocratic. But it was even worse than that because each of those senators used to be appointed, not voted into office by the population at large. So we removed one level of undemocratic behavior when we started allowing senators to be voted for. What else made us undemocratic? We elect a president by electoral college. Your vote simply gives the states an indication of who they should support. I repeat, your vote gives the state an indication of who they should support. You could vote 100% for a candidate, and the electors from that state, which is what you are really electing, can go out there and do as they please. That's an indirect level of democracy that isn't really democracy. So you could get a president that most people don't want. That's one other undemocratic level that we have. We also have the gerrymandering of our states. What does that mean? It means that we can draw lines so that even if the state is 75% Democratic and 25% Republican, there is a configuration that we can draw maps in such a manner that that state still sends more representatives with a 25% majority to the Congress. Example, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. These states send more representatives than they deserve from the Republican Party than what their state votes. That's undemocratic. So there is a whole lot of undemocracy occurring in the United States right now. Who claims to be the bastion of democracy? And then we have the electoral college framework. This has got to end. And it can only end by an overperformance in 2024 for a candidate that isn't an autocrat. Because the reason we've survived this pseudo-democracy for so long is because people were basically good. Remember, I always talk about people being good, but think about it. We continue to stand up as an implied democracy because people were generally good. You win an election, even when Gore lost by winning, Gore won the election in 2000. Again, we had good people. The election was close enough in the popular vote that even as Gore was cheated in Florida, and they successfully cheated in Florida. He threw his hands up in the air and he said, to save this democracy, I'll back off. I'll back off. He didn't say, let me go arm all these people. He won the popular vote. He lost the state of Florida because Jeb Bush cheated with the vote. And then the Supreme Court, a biased Supreme Court, says, for this case only, for our youngsters that are listening who don't know that history in 2000. The Supreme Court says, for this case only, this isn't precedent, the Supreme Court said. This isn't precedent, but for this case only, we're going to stop the counting of the vote. And that meant the original statement of Bush winning the state came to pass, and we got President G.W. Bush. And that changed history. George W. Bush, we had an Iraq war. We invested a lot of our resources into Iraq as opposed to into protecting our country, into having social programs that elevated people into dependent on self. If you give that helping hand, all of that changed because there was so much invested into fighting a war a war that was created on lies. Your vote matters. You changed history in 2000. Our war footing changed in 2000. And in the process, our deficit blew out of control because we had to support the war. Programs like education and all these things suffered. Your vote matters. Now we're at an impasse again. We are at an impasse again. And this time it's our democracy. This time it is much, much more. And the first salvo was shot in telling women they had no control, and watching what that first salvo did to a particular human being, Kate Cox. It's just the canary in the mine. In the mine. Mine, not mind. In the mine. It's just the canary in the mine. So people, those that are listening to me right now, America is in trouble. And by the way, corporations don't really care about this, right? Because they're the ones who control the politicians. And just like America prefers to work with dictatorships because it is generally one point of entry. In other words, you don't have to convince a whole lot of people of a whole lot of things. You just have to convince one person and so it be done. That is why corporations love what's happening right now. Do you see any corporations doing anything about fighting for democracy right now? Do you see any of them going out and saying, no, we can't have a Donald Trump talking about autocracy right now? Do you see any of them making or stepping up? Have you heard any of the major talk shows in this country try to mobilize the great audiences that they have and say, hey, people, mobilize, you got to do something? Notice how quiet they are, folks. Notice how quiet they are. We are trying to ring the alarm bells here. We hear a few of the network programs, a few of them trying to ring the bell here and there, but you don't see a lot of people as concerned as they need to be. You don't see a lot of people saying, wait a minute, this can happen here. Remember Chuco? Remember Italy? Remember how Mussolini, same thing that Donald Trump is doing, not wanting to be convicted, decide I am going to find a way to get into power, stay into power. Remember that? People. This wasn't my show, but as usual, Brother Jack, with his prescient statement, said it. And Brother Howard wants to engage. Let's get busy, Howard.
I wanted to tell you one thing. The corporations, you're right on the corporations. They're being very quiet about things. But the fact of the matter is, today, it's abortion and women's rights. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, probably the corporations too. Because if he can control them, he can control the world. So therefore, the corporations had better be shaking in their pants because they're going, oh no. Because, like I said, you don't lose all of your rights at once. The rats nibble away at the cheese. And in the outskirts of the cheese is the abortion rights. But then in the center of the cheese is the corporations. So corporations, wake up. You will be controlled by the White House if you let this go on. So you better start making some noise. You better say, well, we don't really want this guy after all, because, yeah, he gives us a lot of tax breaks and money, but there comes a point where the power madness that Donald Trump has will extend to your corporation. So he's coming for you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I want to take that a bit further to prove Howard's point. When Donald Trump was in trouble, was in power, and a particular organization, I don't remember which communication company it was in the process of buying another company, but I want to say AT&T, but since I don't know, I better not say it. But Corporation A, let's call it Corporation A, was about to buy Corporation B. Corporation A pissed off Donald Trump while he was in office. Donald Trump killed the ability forces the FCC, was it the SCC STC to FTC to kill the deal. That was one good example of exactly what Howard is saying. It's not like he hadn't done it before. He did it. Now, I want to put something in perspective as well about losing our democracy, right? Because people don't, by the time you lost it, it's done, right? Because after you've lost it, it then takes blood, sweat, and tears to get it back. Meaning you've got to fight back. Because again, at that point, once you lose democracy, you've lost your rights to go ahead and say, this is wrong, change it. At that point, that's done. So the only way to get things changed after you've lost democracy is through the only other means, which is violence, right? Because the people are staying put with what they want to do, and we don't want to get there. We don't want to get there. Can we get there? Of course we can get there. We've been there when we fought the Civil War, right? So we can always get there. But anyhow, Donald Trump cannot exist alone. I mean, Donald Trump is just a symbol. But if you listen to right-wing media, you hear all the preparations being made. And not only the preparations being made, they're telling their people what their intent is. And one might ask, why would you start telling people all these bad things that you intend to do? You're going to go after the media. You're going to go after this particular group. You're going to go after anybody who oppose you right now. Let me tell you why. People think that is crazy. If he goes out and if all his minions go out and say that, people are going to say, "Oh, I don't want that," and therefore they won't do it. I want to tell you the dirty little secret. The first thing that Donald Trump and his minions have done is to create the perfect separation in people. What they've done successfully is allow you to look at others as the other. I repeat, allow you to look at others as the other. And if you can look at the others as the other, and you cannot see them as being like you, human like you, with feelings like you. Oh, it looks like our phone screening is down. That's interesting. But again, think about this. I get you to look at that other person. I get you to look at those immigrants as subhuman, taking something that belongs to you. I get you to look at those Latinos a certain way. And Latinos, it surprises me that right now you are dilly-dallying about the possibility of electing autocrats. It just surprises me. But there's another, as a Latino myself, there is an interesting dynamics that occur in the Latino community that it would be too complex to discuss right now. But surprises me. But again, it's a divide and conquer, but we're seeing it in a perfect scenario here. If you take a look at a lot of the Trump supporters, the biggest thing that's running through that core is hating the other and the sense that somebody is victimizing you. Somebody is trying to get you. And in doing so, what does that really mean? It means that you have to fight back and you have to support that which is fighting back for you. I want you to think about this very well. All right? Right now many Democrats look at Biden, and Biden passed a lot of good laws, great laws that helped society. He was neutered by cinema and mansion, but he passed a lot of good laws. I wanted a whole lot more progressive laws, but again, he was never going to be a progressive, but he passed a lot of progressive stuff, and so for that I commend him. But he was unable to do certain things, and a lot of people are disillusioned with the things that he's been unable to do. Not to speak about his great embrace of Netanyahu right now, which is completely wrong-headed. But I digress. people concerned, a dictator cannot exist by himself or herself. A dictator has to have a supporting cast that is not only, and remember we spoke about the checks and balances. A dictator requires having a cast, and it requires having the cast in the other branches or in at least one other branch. And that's what Donald Trump has. A dictator cannot exist by himself or herself. And its supporting cast, you know who they are. They're the Congress. It's the MAGA Congress that is in existence right now. You know, there is a thing that I played. I think I played it from Matthias. I played a piece that I played from Matthias. As I'm speaking to you right now, I'm trying to find it, because if I could play that again, I would like to play. I think I played it here for you before. But what he said is the entire Congress right now is, in fact, a MAGA Congress. There are no moderate Republicans out there in Congress anymore. It's only the fearful MAGA or the, I think I'm finding it. But I haven't found. There are no moderate Republicans. They're either proud MAGA or scared MAGA. And if you take a look at what's happening in the race for the White House, nobody really attempts to speak out against Donald Trump, even as they know he's wrong. That's the MAGA scared Republicans. And then there is the Freedom Caucus that is there doing his bidding. Let's impeach Biden for, well, we don't know yet, but we're going to impeach him for something. We got to understand what is going on in the country right now. We have to understand what's going on in the country right now. So in the 2024 election, folks, every time it almost gets like a cliche. Every time we say this is the most important election in your life. And the truth of the matter is we should look at every election as the most important election in our lives. There's nothing wrong about saying that every single time. And the reason why is every year you have the possibility, I repeat, every year you have the possibility of killing the democracy because, again, we have some systemic misdesign of our Constitution in so many ways. It even gave Donald Trump the opportunity to say that even Putin realizes the weakness of our democracy. And while we don't want to take advice from Putin, and while it is kind of disloyal for Donald Trump to make a statement like that, it is pretty true. But anyway, let me ask Howard, are we having some issues with the phone, or what's going on?
Yes, we are. We're just getting a busy signal when we call in. So I was upstairs resetting the brain on it, and that doesn't seem to be helping. So we reset the handset to see if maybe it's possible that it got stuck on hold or something.
Oh, okay.
So if the next stop will be calling a specialist, since the geniuses here in the control room can't figure it out.
Well, look, sorry about that with the phones, guys. I mean, the good thing about it is, like I tell you, I make sure to come here with so much material that even when we don't have the phones, I can make sure and keep us doing what we need to do. But I sure as hell miss talking to all my peeps. So I won't say 713-526-5738 till the geniuses in the studio get to knock out the Grinches that decided to hijack our telephone system. But you know what? We can't do that right at this minute. But I would just so love to hear from you. But anyhow, so folks, we can't leave our democracy alone. And again, remember, You need a supporting cast. But where I got interrupted, where I interrupted myself is in this portion where you need that supporting cast. And why is it that Donald Trump is telling people, along with his surrogates, what they want to do? And let me tell you why. For the same reason that if Biden goes ahead and says, if you reelect me, I will make sure that your student loans are mitigated. I will make sure that moms who want to go to work get the support in childcare that they need. I will make sure that the wealthy will pay their fair taxes. Well, what he's done is they've pissed off a lot of people. They've taught a lot of people that they should hate the immigrant. They've taught a lot of people that they are on the block to be replaced. We will not be replaced. The Jews will not replace us. I find it ironic since we have the MAGA folks in the Congress telling the head of Harvard and all of this that the legally correct reply that they gave somehow is anti-Semitic and all of that they would like you to believe, when these are the people that really hate our Jewish brothers and sisters when they talk about replacement theory, etc., etc. We are in strange times, but what they've done, the right has done, is they've taught the good people on the right. And like I tell everybody, you're all my brothers and sisters, whether you're a conservative, liberal, anarchist, a right wing, MAGA, I don't care who the hell you are. I do consider you my brother and my sister, my brothers and my sisters. I mean, if you take a look at what they do, they have riled up the right to think there's some sort of a replacement thing going on here. Them immigrants that are coming over here, they're coming to take away your white birthright. Your white birthright is being taken away by those people that are coming into this country, you know? And you see those people that are looking for reparations, they're taking it out of you. I am here to save you. So they've made the gamble. They made the gamble that enough people are gullible, and they triangulate well. Enough people are gullible that now they can come out and say, I am there for you. I am there to knock that media that has been against you. I am there to incarcerate, to lock up, to rein all those brown immigrants that are here taking away your birthright. We're going to round them up, lock them up, and throw them to hell out of here. That's what I'm going to do. That's what they're saying on right-wing radio. I listen to it. They're going to round up politicians that are doing wrong. They're coming after you. If you have come after me, we're coming after you. The revenge thing. Man, they're telling people these things. It doesn't get covered on ABC, CBS because they don't cover the bloggers and all of that. But guess where most of the right get their info from? And, people ask, why is Donald Trump, why are the numbers so close? And people are sitting down there wondering, look, even the news media has gotten better. The news media are finally telling the truth about Donald Trump. And the news media are really challenging him now. It don't matter anymore. And you know why? They created their own media. And it's not Fox News. It's not OEN. It's not Newsmax. Yes, it's a combination of those three, but what the elitist democratic groups in Washington that's advising Biden and all the others don't realize, because they're not on the ground and they don't talk to people, is what's really happening. I live in Kingwood and I see it. I see how from the churches to the social organizations are infiltrated on the sly with movement papers. If you go into a voting booth in Kingwood, I can tell you who is a Republican just by looking at what they have in their hands. And everybody, here and there people have their cheat sheets. But these guys, each of them, walk in there with well-organized cheat sheets. It's the reason why Harris County we have more Republican at large than we have Democrats at large, because for the people who voted, we know who they were going to be, and they had their cheat sheet from the mayor right down. They figured we have to have a Democratic mayor. It's going to be this conservative Democratic mayor, and all the at larges that we can win, we won. They are very well orchestrated with the email lists. I'm on several of their email lists as well. And it is it's not the email. Look, you can tell an email that's coming from the progressive think tanks, or I'm not calling them progressive, the Democratic think tanks in Washington, D.C., and the ones that are advised by them versus the ones that are advised by the right. The difference in these mailers that you get every day, these emails that you get every day, one is a call to action to do certain things, but it also includes a message of you being under attack. The other has a soft attack and say, give me $5, give me $20, give me $15. Yeah, the one on the right is asking you for $15, $20, but that comes later on, after they've scared the bejesus out of you. After you've been told all these things, then they come for the ask. And you know what comes after that ask? Oh my God, I better throw them that cash to do this with. It's all well designed. Their investment in media, very well directed. I have an account that makes me look like a Republican. And the directed messages that you get, well designed. You live in a different world altogether. And those elitist advisors of the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., they don't know what have hit them. How can Donald Trump be tied in an election, a thug, a criminal, a rapist, all these things, all this guy represents? Support by the evangelicals are his biggest supporters. How can that be? The Powell memo told them what to do, and one side has executed the Powell memo to a T through every form of media. You see all those conservative bloggers, the hundreds of conservative bloggers, they are funded. They don't have to worry about, well, I can't write my lying article today. Because I have to find a way to raise money so that I can survive. I don't have to do that because I'm funded. We spend here at KPFT every quarter about 3 weeks trying to raise a few dollars. We just about have to beg for a few dollars to survive, with one paid person and everybody else volunteering for our freedoms, volunteering to have something. That's who we are. But we scrape to get a penny. These guys are funded. If you go to the internet and look up right-wing talk shows or right-wing, all these guys, let me tell you better. I haven't gotten any recently, but I used to, my show, I used to get all these emails, never from the left, always from the right. Hey, we are interested in supporting you. Of course, that comes at a price. We will support you at a price. They'll send me money. They'll send, and my thing is, couldn't do that, baby. Cannot do that. Cannot do that. We will stay here, giving the truth, asking best we can for your support. It looks like our phone lines may be back up. 713-526-5738.
They are.
All right, our phones are back up, guys. 713-526-5738.
Hey, Egberto?
Yes, sir.
The mayor of Politics Done Right is wanting to call in. So
come on, Mayor, come on in. He's on.
Come on in.
Come on in, Mayor. Jack, I see his number up. Come on in, Jack. Talk to me. All right. Now you're on. Johnny, okay. He's about to put you on in a minute. Our phones came back up. Come on in, Jack. Johnny.
One tiny win for democracy, huh?
Yes, sir. Talk to me, brother.
Well, I want to make one slight correction. Yeah, because I know Steve is probably listening. I know he would say this if I were talking like this. He would say to me, "Well, you got to distinguish. Remember, John, you got to distinguish." And I say, yeah. I know people who vote Republican as opposed to Republican voters.
Right.
It's picky. Yes. It's picky, but in times like this, I guess we've got to be very precise and surgical, as opposed to blunt force, like they're doing right now.
The mayor has spoken, and the mayor is absolutely right. So wherever I said Republicans understand that I really meant people who vote Republican, the mayor is correct. Anything else, Johnny? It looked like a lot of people were wanting to call while our lines were down. I'm glad. Oh, Lord. I'm going to look. We only have a little bit of time, and I want to give everybody 30 seconds for being persistent enough. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Brian. Brian has 30 seconds. Come on in, brother Brian. Let's see. Brian, come on in. Let's see. I know he's going to get to Brian in a minute. Forgive us, folks. We've been having some telephone problems. Yeah, we're just having some phone problems, folks, but we're going to get to Brian. 713-526-5738. Come on in, brother Brian.
Well, it seems like brother Brian is a busy signal, so he must have...
Okay.
We're still screening some stuff. Sorry about this. We could have solved it earlier.
It happens, man. It happens. Look, it happens. Guys, of course, we'll be here tomorrow again. So we can continue some of this tomorrow, because I really wanted to hear passionately from all of you wonderful folks as far as what we're talking about, and talking about how we can promote this message in such a manner that people see the urgency. And I know that our listeners are going to be right there with what has to be done to get us in the right place. I know that from the core of my heart, what's going to happen here, folks. So rest assured, we get it. Let's go to Paul. Come on in, Paul.
Good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
Yeah, I don't really call in that often, but sometimes things that seem complicated and we overthink things, it could come down to simplicity and the whole thing about race in this country and the fear thereof comes down to one thing: is competition. As an African American man brought up in this country, when you start succeeding and out succeeding other people of other races, then you'll find that that's where they get the fear of they're taking our jobs. Most of the jobs they're talking about, they don't want to do. And then the other jobs in corporations, which, themed as their jobs, we're just outperforming, because they feel like they have a God-given right to certain things in this world.
All right, Paul, I hear you. Let me just say to this. That is one of the reasons I said, for me, race is a stupid thing, but we live in a racialized society, so it has to be addressed. And what you've said about how some feel is exactly what was put into their minds to feel that way. And after they get to feel that way, then we get the Donald Trumps who can further control them. So, Paul, thank you very much for your input. And thank you for calling in as well, my brother. We're running out of time, so I got to jump to Harry. Thank you so kindly, Paul. Come on in, Harry.
Yeah, I've been calling since 6:10, and I can't talk a lot about what I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to address something that was said when Steve Hunter was talking about Kate Cox last Thursday. There was a woman who called. Her name was Rosa, and she was saying that men should stay out of the decision making with abortions. Now, I don't agree with that, because it takes a man's semen to create a human being. And men and women, when abortion comes up, with a woman's body. Men and women need to work together on that decision and decide whether or not the woman. And then they come up to a conclusion whether or not the woman should get an abortion. But the man should be involved. So men should not totally stay out of it. I think Rosa was completely wrong when she told Steve that Thursday. And I tried to talk to Steve Friday about it.
Let me interrupt you right there for one reason. Men can be advisors. Men can be suggesters. Yeah. Men have no point in the decision. And I think that is what women are actually saying. I can't carry a baby. It's something in my body. Women has ultimate decision on that, whatever her decision is, bar none. Yeah. So I agree with you with regards to the man should be in there supporting the woman. But as far as the decision is to be, zero. Yeah. Because it's her body. Nobody controls our testicles. Yeah.
Right.
So
I agree with that part, but you can't. I'm just saying, the way that woman made it sound like she's like that the man should not be involved at all. And I didn't like the way she said that.
I know. Sorry, Harry, I got to go, but I know where, in your heart, where you're coming from. In other words, a man's supposed to be there to support her, and they and also maybe if she knows that he's going to be there, she may want to have the kid, but ultimately it has to be her decision. I understand. Exactly. I read in between your lines. I see where you're coming from, sir. Thank you so kindly, Harry. Got to go.
Exactly, everybody. All right,
thank you, brother. All right, let's go to brother Howard, who got this stuff up and running. Thank you, Howard.
And we got the tin cans and string up and running again this morning, so we're good. Remember, corporations, you are next, and that's what I've got to say. Jack, you got some wisdom for us?
We do need to support the women in their reproductive rights. Stand by them, men. You stand by them. Yes, it's their decision. But I mean, you support them with whatever they want. If you want that baby, you support it.
Thank you so kindly, folks. Anyway, folks, got to get out of here. Thank you, callers, and sorry for the mishap that we had this morning. Great thanks to Howard and Jack for getting things back up and running just before the end of the show. And thank you, listeners, for allowing me to, or Jack for allowing me to flip the subject that we were going to have. Just go to the politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to get everything. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.